Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending this evening. I hope you can hear me. I'll just go through the way that I have set up the evening for tonight. Automatically, which I think I can see have happened, the cameras and microphones are all automatically off, and that is so that we can record this and then we can post this onto the website at the end of the evening. I have got the Q&A, or the question and answer section, open. There is also space in the chat to put anything in, but if you do have any questions, please can you put them into the Q&A section, and then I will answer them at the end of this webinar. Finally, if you have something that is private or individual to you, and you don't want to put it into a public forum, then by all means, please email me, and my email address does come up on the final slide. And as I said earlier, these slides, the presentation and the webinar will all be put on the website for anybody to go back to at a later stage. So the aim of this evening is to look at the provision for our Key Stage 4 students. There will be a focus on Year 11 and mock exams, but that is also very pertinent for Year 10 because they will be doing a mock exam in RE. And we will look at colleges, what colleges expect, and also moving on into the revision techniques and what we provide, or the advice that we give to our students through this what is a highly pressured time. So just to begin then, our teaching and learning strategy looks to develop students to become more independent over time as they go through Year 10 into Year 11 and into college. The good learning habits that they develop are key for them to continue to progress in whatever career or further education that they move into. It's really important that students know where they are, what they need to do to move on, and to be challenged to push themselves to be the best that they can. And to do that, we have a teaching and learning strategy, which over a course of lessons, we would hope that students, when they go into classes, when we look at the sorts of provision, the lessons they get, they have a do it now, which is where there's a task, often going back and recapping and helping that retrieval knowledge in terms of topics that they have covered in the past. Sometimes it's linked to the previous lesson, sometimes it goes back further. And for every topic and unit, there is a bigger picture, an overview, where the students will be provided with the success criteria, which if they use those success criteria in the feedback and marking from teachers, they can actually take some independence in terms of knowing where they are, what they've done well, but then also what they need to do in future. And then the other parts to it are the getting involved, the activities, the different range of activities that different subjects and within the subject students can have to help them move through successfully, and to encourage that deep learning, to then move into a reflect and improve sections where the teachers will be not necessarily in every single lesson, but over a series of lessons, going back over those key skills, key points, key knowledge with the students. So in terms of being a parent, you know, you are the ones that, particularly as they get closer to the mock exams, particularly as they have the requirements, they know they need to move into college, and particularly when they start to move towards those real GCSEs and the pressure starts to build up, and you are the ones that are there at home having to work out how to give your child the support they need. And so in terms of that, I'm going to start with the college requirements, the courses, because students are at the moment in the process of finalising those college applications. There are different levels of course. At school here, we are doing GCSEs, BTECs, level 1, level 2 vocational qualifications. Those are the options and the core provision that we provide for all of our students. Those level 2 courses are equivalent to GCSEs, and they are the courses that get students onto what they need to do at college. If a student gets a level 2 pass or above in a BTEC or a level 1 or 2 certificate, vocational certificate, or they get a level 4 or above in the GCSE, then that is equivalent to a level 2. If the student gets a level 3, 2 or 1 in a GCSE, or a level 1 distinction, level 1 merit, level 1 pass, that's equivalent to a level 1 qualification. Colleges, and for our students, the most popular colleges are either East Surrey or Reigate. Colleges set their criteria for different courses depending on the grades and the number of qualifications that the students get at GCSE and BTEC level. So because our students can get 9 or 10 level 2 qualifications, students that get that will move into level 3 courses. The level 3 courses are A levels, but also the advanced BTECs, and they are a direct progression from the GCSEs that we take at school. However, there are certain courses where the colleges will always start the students at level 1 because they've got absolutely no experience in them prior to moving from year 11 into year 12, and those sorts of courses are the courses that take you into the trades. Having said that, students with better qualifications and the right level 2 courses and better level 2 courses, they are able to move through from level 1 to level 2, potentially level 3 in plumbing, bricklaying, etc. Quicker, and not everybody who goes to East Surrey College, as an example, will move into level 3 in the course that they actually take in the end. To actually get the real detail, the colleges do it on a course by course basis. They do it on an individual basis at times. So the colleges are the ones that will actually be able to explain exactly the requirement for the courses that your child is looking to take. Moving from level 2 to level 3 from school to college, then more often than not means that in year 12 you will then do 2 years at college. If you have to do maths and or English retake, if you move into level 2 courses, very often that may mean that you do 3 years at college rather than 2. As a generalization, the higher the education level and qualification of a person, the better the potential career earnings over the course of a career. Of course, that is not the same for absolutely every career, but as a generalisation and as an average over a population, taking level 3 courses and then moving on into higher education does increase potential career earnings. So in terms of level 3 courses, the main ones are the AS and the A level. The AS level isn't studied so much now because it got decoupled from A level. So most of our students who go on to level 3 courses at Reigate and go in to do A levels, they will just do the A level. They won't do the AS levels. What Reigate College do is they also do a critical thinking qualification called the EPQ, where students will do a project, and that does actually add to UCAS points to go towards their final UCAS application. The other types of qualification are vocational. They are also level 1, level 2, level 3, and so they also give access to level 3 courses, which do give access to universities. Different universities and different courses may only ask for certain A levels at certain grades, and that is individual to the university and to the courses. And as your child goes through college, if there's something that they want to do, the colleges will support with giving them that information as to what they need to be able to move on to the course that they want to do. However, vocational subjects can also be part of an application to higher education. They do count as level 3 courses. The new technical awards were deliberately set up to be more comparable to A levels, and so students can do the academic A levels, or they can do vocational, or Reigate University do give a mix and match where they can do part BTEC to level 3 and also 1 or 2 A levels to support their progression from school. Most of our students go to Reigate College or East Surrey College. However, those colleges do not suit everybody. So, you know, between the two of them, they have both got very good reputations. Between the two of them, they have set up courses so that they don't totally compete with each other, and the wide range of provision that they give does give virtually everybody something that they are able to and would want to do at college. However, if your child does not want to go to them, because, you know, by providing so much for all the students in the area, we are a partner school alongside De Stafford and Oakwood and Reigate, which means that our students do get priority admission into those 2 colleges. But because of that, they are big places, and so sometimes students prefer to move to places like St Bede's or Royal Alexandra and Albert because they are smaller. Royal Alexandra and Albert also does a couple of different vocational qualifications that we don't, that Reigate College and East Surrey College don't necessarily provide. There's also Nescott in Ewell, which has the agriculture and horticulture. Brit School for performing arts, ACM in Guildford for music, and Merist Wood that also does the animal and horticulture and I believe agriculture types of qualifications as well for students who are interested in those areas. So I should also say there's also Crawley College, which sometimes students will go to from here to do catering. So, you know, in the local area, there are a number of colleges that provide the wide range of post-16 provision to actually suit any interest from your child. And, you know, just by applying for Reigate College or East Surrey College doesn't negate an application to any of the others also. So, you know, your child can apply to more than one place. So in terms of the East Surrey College, the qualifications that our students need to move into a level 3 qualification, they need 4 or 5 GCSEs, grade 4 to 9, A star to C, which they've put A star to C on the thing. But so basically they need 4 or 5 GCSEs or equivalent, grade 4 to 9. The equivalent of that is level 2 pass or above in of vocational qualification. And what that will allow students to do is to move into their level 3 diplomas and level 3 BTECs, as long as those students also have English and maths at grade 4. If the students don't quite get that, then they will move into the level 2 section of the qualifications that East Surrey College provide. Reigate College look mostly, so notice the language in here, it says mostly grades 9 to 7. Those sorts of students will potentially aim to take 3 A levels. They will be in the Aspire programme, which is a tutor group aiming for particularly Russell Group universities, or if your child wants to be a medic or vet, they have a specific MV or a dentist MVD tutor group where they will have either extra reading or sessions which support them to make the right choices to be able to strengthen their application to those particular areas. If students are mostly grades 6 to 7, then they also will be able to study 3 A levels over 2 years and be on the Aspire programme in the same way. Both of those include the option to do the EPQ, which I mentioned earlier. And the difference is that for some students who get mostly grade 7 to 9, then they will have that option of studying a 4th A level. However, that 4th A level, very often that is further maths. So it's very often where the students will do maths A level and further maths, and doing 4 A levels when I went with my children a couple of years ago, the college themselves have changed a bit from doing that because they said that the universities weren't really requiring that. So again, it comes down to the individual and what the individual student wants to do, which you will get through the college interview, which happens through November. If students get mostly grades 5 to 6, then they will still be able to potentially study A levels, but a maximum of 2 with vocational qualification. So that is where they do start their mix and match provision. Mostly grades 4 to 5. Students will take more of the vocational qualifications. Again, they are able to get into into level 3 programs, and so all of those level 3 programs depend on what you get mostly in your GCSE grades or the equivalents. So it's not done on an absolute average, and the college will look at those grades and they will look at where most of those grades sit before deciding what offer they are going to make to students. Without English and maths, then students, or mostly grade 3s, then students will have some form of intermediate qualification, and by intermediate, what the colleges mean are a level 2 qualification. So it might be level 2 BTECs. It will definitely be English and or maths retakes to GCSE, and potentially a 3-year program. Now, none of this is actually totally fixed. So, you know, you as a parent and as a child, in discussion with the colleges, will be able to decide on what the best courses are for your child. And there's 2 stages to it, both for East Surrey College and for Reigate College. They'll have the interview and there will be an offer. And at that interview, that's where your child will have completed the application form. They'll say what they're interested in. They'll look at the sorts of levels that are expected from the GCSEs, and the colleges will offer a place. However, that place isn't actually fixed, or the place is fixed, but the courses aren't fixed until the GCSE results. So after those GCSE results, your child will be able to, if they've changed their mind in terms of what they want to do, they will be able to go to the college and they will have a taster day in the summer. They'll have a taster day at the start of September, and then on the enrolment, then they will be able to say, these are the courses that I want to do. And the courses that they actually get to do depend on the GCSE grades, not necessarily on the offer that they initially get. So if a student doesn't get offered the A levels that they necessarily want to, but they do go and get the grades that you know, they get mostly grades 7 to 9, then they have that time where they can actually speak with the college and say, yes, I do want to do 4 A levels, if that is something, as an example, that they want to do. Likewise, if they decide over the course of the year that they change their mind as to what they want to do, and as an example, they want to do a mix and match course because they want to go, for example, say into nursing, and they need a level 3 BTEC alongside A levels rather than doing 3 science A levels, then as long as they have the grades, they can discuss that with the colleges, and it's at enrolment next year where that where those changes can be made. So that is the college application process. So the students are at the moment making their applications. In November, they will have the interviews. They will be given the places, and then following the results, they will secure the courses that they want to do, as long as they have the grades that get them onto those courses. There are individual courses that have specific requirements. So, for example, certain A levels will require at least a grade 6 in maths, or sometimes a grade 6 in another science subject. So again, it is through the discussion and the interviews with colleges where those sorts of requirements are agreed. Both of these are taken from the prospectuses that are on the East Surrey College and the Reigate College websites. You can download those, and each of those prospectuses has more detail about each course that they provide and the individual requirements that you might need to get onto those courses. So in terms of our students, okay, what students can't really do with the way that this is set up, particularly if they want to move into A levels or level 3 courses, is they can't necessarily just think, well, I want to go into this particular area, so I'm just going to focus on particular GCSEs that that lead directly into those subjects, because both of the colleges look at a range of results, particularly Reigate, where that wording mostly grade 6 and 7, or mostly grade 7 and 9, particularly for those level 3 courses. The interviewers and the enrollers and the admissions team in Reigate College, they will be looking at those final grades and looking to see what that spread of grade was before they determine whether they think that the student is suitable for particular courses. So one subject can theoretically make the difference, and it's getting onto those post-16 options that set the student up for their future careers and their future direction. So at this stage, it's really important that students don't just drop subjects or just think, well, I'm not interested in that. I know what career I'm going to go into, so I'm not going to really work hard in particular subjects, because with the number of subjects that are done at GCSEs, it's a very tempting thing to do, but that ultimately a lower grade or a noticeably lower grade in one or two subjects can just skew the offer that the colleges make. So in terms of what we do here, from summer of year 10 and through year 11, students are set what we call an FFT 20 expected goal. FFT stands for Fisher Family Trust. They are a non-profit organisation that provide a lot of information about expectations. They get access to the DFE data, and through their mathematical modelling, they work out the chances of students getting particular grades, going right the way from Key Stage 2 through to Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. And then what they do is they say, if this student is an average student and working right in the middle, their most likely grade is, and they provide that for every single subject. What we do is we set the challenge for students to make progress in the top 20% of similar students nationally. So that is from either their Key Stage 2 score or from their benchmarking scores, their CAT scores, and what Fisher Family Trust do is they provide that information for us. So the target grades that students receive are the FFT 20, and that is where we expect students to get to. So in terms of how that is then put into the interim reports and the reports that the students will get tomorrow, they will get those target grades generated from the students' CAT or Key Stage 2 baseline data. And then what they will also get is a progress statement. At the moment, it's really early in year 11 for this data. So the colleges understand that what we are aiming towards is to get every single student towards that FFT 20, that Fisher Family Trust 20 estimated and target grade. And that is the target grade that they will use. Then if a student is already at or above that target grade, then that indicates to the college that they are going to be able to go beyond that level. If they're working towards that target grade, that indicates to the college that they are going to be around that level by the time they get through to their GCSEs. And if they require intervention, that indicates that the students are at the moment away from that. And then in terms of requires intervention, if that does come up, and I'll pick this up in the next slide, then what teachers will do, teachers who have got that they will be looking at this, and they will be doing things like changing the seating plans to group students in an area where they can get to them. First of all, they will be looking at the sorts of reasons why the student hasn't been able to make the progress towards their target grade, and they will be looking at things like, as I mentioned, the do it nows, and going back over certain topics with the do it nows to try to improve that the knowledge retention, to improve certain skills, and within the class trying to do things that can support the confidence and development of the student to help them move towards their progress grades. What will also come up in and be reported on in the Year 11 report is an attitude to learning grade. This is it's a more holistic teacher assessed statement, and this is about, I'd like to just highlight its learning behaviours. So to be a star learner, it says that you are independent. It says that you're outside of the lesson doing that extra reading that's really going to support that extra progress towards the higher grade and towards your FFT 20 grade. Motivated learner does everything that they're expected to do, but without that extra level of independency. And that is where I think most of our students will be. The reluctant learners are the ones that don't necessarily challenge themselves. They don't necessarily complete homework or independent work regularly. And there are bits missing. So also, as a teacher in a lesson, when you get to do the exam or assessment practice, and it is just a practice, and students know it's just a practice, and they know that the mark scheme and the answers are going to be covered, so they sit back and they look at it, they think, well, I can't really do that, so I'll wait for the answer. And it's those sorts of learning behaviours that don't help improve the knowledge retention, they don't help improve the skills, and so that's where students don't necessarily who are reluctant learners, they're not going to make that progress without that extra support from teachers to help them towards their progress grades. So in terms of what you will see, you'll get the subject, the FFT 20 expected goal, which is that target. They're the numbers that the colleges will look at, and then whether or not the student is working above, working towards, or working at the progress towards that FFT 20 expected goal. I've gone through those definitions really about what the different progress statements mean, and this data was done a couple of weeks ago. Students have only been back in 3 weeks, so to get that change from year 10, so in some cases there has been changes from year 10. In a lot of cases there's not been enough time yet to see that progress from the end of year 10 and to see a change in the standards that those students are producing. That is going to come. So after half term, they'll have mock exams. And those mock exams will build on the end of year 10 exams that they had in the summer, and they've had some of that experience, and they're into year 11, and they've had a half term where they are making progress through the units or the content in each subject. So the colleges are aware of what they are going to get in terms of the reports. What will also be on there will also be attendance, and there will be some brief statements just explaining what the different categories are. The main ones for the colleges are the FFT 20 target and also the progress statements. For year 10 parents, you know, your child has taken options, they're starting to move through those subjects, and a lot of those learning behaviours, the good habits that they get into now are exactly the same as for the year 11s. It's just that the year 11s are now moving into that final stretch. And as students mature through year 10, then again, it's about those learning expectations. But because we are still so far away from the final GCSEs, what we do with assessment is exactly the same as we had from year 9, and rather than having a very tight current grade, we have the expected bands. So accelerating is the highest expected band, then soaring, then tuning, then rising, and then acquiring. And what that does is that sets the expectation, but because learning habits don't depend on prior attainment and prior achievement, it's about how a student goes about making progress, looking at where they are, and then getting better. And that is an ongoing process that happens not just through school and into college and further education, but that actually happens throughout life and going into career. So to encourage the belief that there's no limits to learning, with those bands, any student who consistently achieves above their expected progress band can move up into the next expected range. And so, and that can be just in an individual subject. It doesn't have to be across every subject. So if there's particular subjects that that student is really excelling in, then that student can just increase that expectation, increase that challenge. And we're doing this to try and encourage students to continuously be looking to make more progress, rather than what has been proven in the past. And a number of us will have gone through the systems where we get given a grade. So, you know, I was on the old A to E system for O levels, and I got given grade A. I thought, yay, got a grade C. I looked at the grade. I didn't look at what I needed to do. I then compared with other people in the class to see what grade they got and to try to work out whether it was because it was a hard test or not. But I didn't necessarily think, right, what is it that I need to do to improve? And I think, and it's that sort of change in learning habits and learning behaviours that we are trying to encourage through year 10. Once the year 10s get to the end of year exams, then that's where they will move to the year 11 assessment, and they will be assessed against their target grades, and the grades will start to go finer, and rather than being a range, will be a specific grade in terms of what they are aiming to achieve. So that is about assessment. And really, students who are self-motivated, develop resilience, are organised, independent workers, plan their work and carry it out. And I've got on there perfect exam technique, but it's independent work as well for those students in year 10. It's not just for the RE exam. They will succeed. Parents have to support that. So, you know, you can be the homeschooled ink. All of our subject teacher email addresses are on the website, so you can contact teachers where there are concerns or where you have questions about particular subjects. You can contact the head of year And you know, if your child isn't confident enough to speak directly with teachers or head of year, you can become that mediator. But more importantly, you can provide your child with a suitable working environment. You can encourage them to put away their phones when they are working. You can make sure that they have got the equipment, the materials that will help them to succeed. What you can also do, talk to them about work, look at their marking and feedback from teachers. Okay, ask them questions about what they've done, potentially test them, because I know that for a number of people, school was a long time ago and the qualifications have changed. So you can't necessarily give them the answers or help them with the subject content, but you can help them find it. You can help them navigate the internet. You can help them try to break down tasks. You can help with time management. What you can then also do is you can help them with the breaks. Give them snacks where they need it, okay, particularly when they start to hit the more pressured times. Give them and make sure that they are carrying on with clubs and activities. And where there are issues, just address them with the school. You know, but where there are issues with the child, address them with the child. And so that leads me into the mock exams. Last week, students were given the mock exam timetable. We will publish this on the website, and it looks something like that. It goes over 2 weeks. So it is a very, very intense period for our students. There are going to be potentially 3 sessions per day for our students. The first one starts at the start of the day as normal. Second one is between break and lunch, and then the third one is in the afternoon. The longer exams are always in that second session. And the reason for that is because that second session, with the way that the lunch, with the breaks are set for Key Stage 4, both Year 10 and Year 11, it does mean that we have between 8:30 and 10 o'clock for the first session, and then between 10:35 and 1 for the second. So all of the longer exams are in that second session. What we are going to do, because of the intensity of these exams, students are going to be allowed to study independently at home when they don't have an exam. But once they are in school, they either stay in school to study, so teachers will be in their rooms for anybody who is not in an exam and in school to study. Or they will be, if they're not leaving at 3 o'clock, they will be able to leave at 1 o'clock. That's if they've not got an afternoon exam. So they're the only times that the student can leave. So once they're in, they stay in. You will notice those middle exams starting from Wednesday, the 15th of November, they involve everybody very often. So maths, biology, English literature and physics, they involve everybody. And then on that Monday, the 20th, there is a chemistry exam in the afternoon, which will involve everybody. So most students are going to be in for at least one exam most days. For Year 10, they have a RE exam on the Tuesday, and because they only have the one exam, we're not doing the same level of independent study. However, the morning of Tuesday, the 14th of November, students will be able to stay at home to revise independently prior to the exam starting at 10:30. However, there are also going to be RE teachers available for students who want to come in and to have that support early in the morning. So, there is going to be, hopefully for that helps to reduce some of the pressure for our students while still giving them that experience of having to time manage, having to plan, having to cope with numerous exams, one after the other, which is what is going to happen come the GCSEs. Just also going to highlight that acting assessment. That comes up a few times, and that is because the actors in the BTEC acting class are preparing for their external assessment, which is part of their course, and so they will need to be in for their lessons on those days. So in terms of that, in terms of the preparation for exams, what students will have in personal development is a couple of sessions to help them prepare for those exams. And, personal development has been used so far for college applications. Those college applications are coming towards the end now. There are a couple of statutory topics that do need to be finished through the year in personal development. And so towards the end of the year, and as we get close to GCSEs, then that time will also be used to support the students in terms of exam preparation. But what they are going to receive, they are going to receive a couple of specific lessons helping them understand the sorts of techniques that they can use and why planning and time management and revision is important. So there will be something about knowledge retention and how memory works. And basically, if we just look at something once, then most of it over time we do start to forget. But if we then revisit it, then what it does is it helps our memory put that content into our long-term memory. So there's a short-term and long-term memory, and by going back and revisiting things, our brain starts to shift topics and knowledge and understanding into our long-term memory. And the more we do it, the more goes into our long-term memory. So the importance of revision is to actually do revision regularly, and this includes going back over subject, topic and reading outside of subject for year 10 students as well as year 11 as well, because if they're doing this through year 10 into year 11, what they are doing as a student is putting more and more content and understanding and knowledge into their long-term memory, which then when it comes to the mock exams and end of year exams, students and then the final GCSEs, students are more able to tap into that long-term memory to retrieve it. So they will be given different techniques for retrieval practice, and each individual student is unique. Each individual student has particular strengths and particular weaknesses, and so at this stage for year 10, for year 11 students, it's about finding the techniques that work best for them, so that by the time they get through to further mock exams and GCSEs, then they know how to revise. So the really important thing, first of all, is about planning. It's identifying identifying the topics within the subjects that they're weaker in, because that's where you can make the most difference, and creating a timetable spaced out, including hobbies and downtime, to cover the revision topics and knowledge that they need to be prepared by the time they get through to that exam. It's using effective and evidence-informed study strategies. So they're the strategies that will be covered through the 2 sessions in PD, which will then be revisited later on in the year. Okay, and then it's identifying those gaps, it's going over them and then reviewing everything so that everything is starting to go into the long-term memory of that student. So there are two ways in which students prefer to revise. One of them is online, and so for that we have a few different areas that we can direct the students to. I've put AQA and Pearson up there because Edexcel and AQA are the most common exam boards. They have all of the past papers and examiners' comments going back to 2017, which is when these qualifications very often started. So for GCSEs, using those and going back and just looking at the past papers and the mark schemes, you get to see the language that's needed, you get to see exemplar material or reasons why students did or did not get awarded marks for particular topics. And so things like that are really useful for students. In terms of revision, GCSE pod, every single student has a GCSE pod login, and that provides a set of audio pods which cover every single GCSE subject. So it is a full set of revision notes which are done through audio with the small video screens. What it also has is multiple choice questions where students can test themselves afterwards. BBC Bite Size is very similar. And if students register, they can narrow down the subjects that they see to the ones that they cover. The difference with BBC Bite Size is that there's a few videos, but mostly it's reading notes. And then there are test yourself sections, which are, again, are multiple choice. Then we have got Tassomai, and Maths actually have just started using Sparks. And both of those are really good for knowledge retention. So in terms of in terms of educational speak, they talk now about a knowledge-rich curriculum, and things like Tassomai and Sparks, by doing that, they test their multiple choice. Sparks has got a bit more to it. Tassomai is purely multiple choice, but what it does is where students get things wrong, it then asks more questions on those areas, and it will give both give reports, and they give reports about the areas that students are strong in, the areas that they're weak in, and the more the students do them, the more they're going over those weaker areas, and the more that knowledge is going into their long-term memory. So those are the online tools. Also, we have offline tools, and a lot of students prefer to use things like flashcards or mind maps or derivations of those. Mnemonics also help in terms of remembering, which is where you set up a phrase using either the words or the first letter of the words to help organize systems. And there's different ways of doing all of them. The one thing about it is that to be successful, it's got to be active. So in terms of a flashcard, there's no point just copying out large chunks of notes from a textbook, a revision guide, or BBC Bite Size onto a flashcard and then putting it away. So by thinking about how to summarize it, by possibly asking a question with an answer on the back of the flashcard, the student is then thinking about those notes. And it's the same with the mind maps. It's not about just copying a mind map that's already been done. It's about thinking about the information they're putting down, and that form of actively thinking about the notes and the revision is better in terms of getting that knowledge into the long-term memory. The other things that will be covered are interleaving, which is mixing up subjects, and then going back to it later in the week, and that then helps the retrieval practice. And then dual coding, which is a mixture of pictures and words, which again, some students particularly, they respond very much to visual cues. And so by mixing that visual with the word cues, it sometimes help them, when they get into an exam, there's certain keywords that will trigger the picture. They'll remember that, and they will then be able to remember what that content was. So they will have 2 sessions on that. And it's really important that students set up revision structure. They break each topic into chunks. They do 20 minutes, half an hour, have a break, move on. That it's better to revisit that over time and to have breaks that then allow them to relax. As I said earlier, keep up the hobbies, keep up the some form of social interaction, whether that be through Fortnite or gaming with friends, or through actually going out to clubs and going out and meeting up with friends, or playing football, playing netball, playing sport, etc. Different ways of active revision, which I said, will go through, or they will do that with their tutor, and getting to know what revision techniques work best for them. That is going to be individual to the student, and finding that out now is going to make that long haul through to the GCSEs a lot easier. So in terms of specifically, for example, science, every week since year 10, science have been working. So if you've got a year 10 child, you will notice the homework, the science homework is broken up into exam practice based on topics that they have already done. They're interleaved to keep revisiting those topics, so that eventually, hopefully, more of that understanding will go into that long-term memory. Completing daily goals on Tassomai. By doing that, the students, Tassomai is actually set up. If you're a year 10 student, it will cover topics that you've not yet covered, because it's going to help, and this is the advice from Tassomai themselves, is that by doing that, they actually get a base level of knowledge before they have to cover that in the actual exams. And so by doing that, as they move through the course, then all of that knowledge more of it is going into their long-term memory. And so then consolidating that, either through making revision cards, watching GCSE pod, etc., which students can do independently. And of course, what I didn't mention earlier is YouTube has just got a wealth of support videos out there, as long as those videos are related to the curriculum and the syllabus, because there is also a lot of distracting material out on YouTube. Maths with Sparks, that they have now started using, is very similar with Tassomai, and it uses exam-based questions, and through using it, it goes and revisits particular areas that students have been doing. But then what it also can do is it can then start testing on areas that students aren't so hot on, so that the students are revisiting and relearning the content that they specifically need to improve. So to sum up, our successful students, they are going to have a full set of notes. Now, that can be from the work that they do, but of course, through a 2-year course, it is very likely that something will happen. That means that, there are certain gaps. So they do have a full set of notes in GCSE pod, but they use it. They do have a full set of revision notes in BBC Bite Size. It's important that they use it if that's what they're going to use. Or there are revision guides which there are some that are identified in our school shop. However, they take time to come. But places like Amazon now, they do the full range of revision guides that match to the specification. So by all means, check the specification, check what revision guide is in the school shop, and then get it for Amazon if you want it quicker. But for students who prefer to use the traditional revision guide reading from a textbook stroke revision materials on paper and making notes on paper, then that really does help for them. Making a revision timetable, looking at checklists and identifying the topics that they need to do to improve and the strategy that works for them. Getting a range of resources, but being independent. And as a parent, your role is to encourage them and support them through that, because there are going to be times when they find it hard. They think there's so much to do that they can't see the way through it, and they need to break it up, and they need support doing that. So after half term for the mock exams, it's really about being positive through them. Every single exam, every time the students are in school, they will be expected to wear their correct school uniform. That's mainly for the year 11s rather than year 10s, because the year 10s will just have that one morning of independent revision wear, and then after that they will be in school and in lesson. And then it's about being positive and being supportive of the students. So it's it's going to be challenging. We know it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging, and it's about keep getting into those good routines, getting to learn what works now, and really working through those different strategies to make sure that by the time they get through to the exams at whatever stage they're at now, year 10 or year 11, they are as prepared as they can be for it. They're as confident as they can be for it. They're as supported as they can be for it. So because when that happens, they're more likely to be able to deal with the pressure, to deal with the exams themselves, and to get the grades that they achieve. Thank you for listening. I haven't got any questions yet. I will just have a check of the chat. Any questions that we have got? Mr. Wren is the head of year 10, Miss Davis is the head of year 11, and then if you've got more general questions, you can ask myself or Mr. Lockhart by email, and I will have a chat, have a look at the chat. There's no questions at the moment, so thank you for coming, and if you have no more questions, I will just wait just a few minutes just to see if anything does come through, but if nothing actually comes through, then thank you very much and have a good evening. Yes, the presentation, I've set it to record, so I'm hoping that it's recorded, and what we will do is we will put the presentation onto the website. We'll check it through, check that it's worked properly, and put it onto the website, which will also have the slides on there as well. Right, in terms of the websites, I'll put the ones up now for English, maths, science, because they're the ones that most of our subjects follow. And then what I will put on the website, I'll just check so we did have, and we do have we do have the subjects with their exam boards on the website. So I've just got to check that that is up to date, and then I will put that out to parents. So Edexcel is maths and science. Okay. And then I will do all of the other subjects, including RE, at a later date. The mock exam timetable, now that I've done it here, will be sent out. So that will be, again, an email will come out with the mock exam timetable to all year 10 to 11 parents, and it will be put onto the website. Okay, let me. Right, so I think that is this a question about the EPQ. The best people to ask are at Reigate College, but the EPQ is not an A level as such. It is a project that the student decides to do, which for some universities will lower the asking grades. So they will do their 3 A levels with an EPQ, which supports their application to get onto the courses at university. But does not count as an A level. And I'll just add there, the college application, the college admissions tutors are the best ones to actually help understand that. They will go through that and the Aspire programme for anybody who is eligible for that at the interview that you have in November. Okay, so I've just put the dates that I have for Reigate College and East Surrey College interviews. The best thing, I think Miss Pierce will know if there's been any change. I don't think there's been any change. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think that is it. I'll just have another check. But thank you very much and have a good evening.